come up with ways of managing that. Another thing that I would like to share with you is that look at the public transport. A bus coming from Nairobi to Busia will carry 40 people. And these people are children, we have elders there. They are traveling for more than 10 or 8 hours all the way. And the church is just there, people will come, worship, and go. So I think the 1 hour was misguided. And another thing that I would like to say is that as a church, we are concerned with the well-being of our members. And it is our desire to keep our members as safe as possible. And when we say this, we don't mean that we are ignorant about COVID-19. So as we say the church is breaking the rules, again, the political leaders are supposed to serve as our role models. How can a politician who is in charge of the COVID-19 committee go and drink the whole night? And how can these things happen in the eyes of the government? And they're stopping the churches from doing normal things. It's not only about the church. Look at the wedding. A wedding to have 15 people. How many parents, how many members, how many church leaders will attend that wedding? Look at the funerals. How will you manage funerals of 100 people? So we are supposed to be fair to the church and to all other groups in the nation.
Wow, Bishop Joseph, Pastor Walter just saying that the issue of 1 hour was a bit misguided. But let's move away from that and try to look at the issue of the 58-year-old and over could not go to the church, knowing very well that there are some church leaders, some pastors who are above that age. Then how then do they go to their flock, seeing that they are above that age? Do you feel like probably the government should have at least lessened that measure, lessened that guide from your perspective as a bishop?
Yeah, I think also that was not right, because these elders who are about 58 years are doing a lot of work in the church. Not only that, they are very responsible people. They do a lot, they have businesses, and they go about a lot of things. If somebody is strong, he can do his work in the whole day, whatever he does, even in business, and he can come to church, and yet he's a deacon, some are pastors, some are bishops. I don't understand how these people are going to stay at home. Who is going to run the church? How will the church be now? Some of them are people who founded the church. There are committees that have really taken care of the young people in the church. They have a lot of responsibilities. I don't think that was also well thought. It wasn't. And it's not very easy just to tell them, leave the church and go home. These things, I think they were not reasoned very well. It's not very easy.
It's not right. So what then do you feel could have been the right age for the government to put, except the 58 years?
What they would have done, they would leave the 58 people to come in the church, and we can ask them to sit in different other areas where they are not seated with everybody together. Like my church, which is very large, it's very easy to put them in different areas. And also, we could also look in the services and see which service they can fit very well, and we could talk to them with the understanding, because they are very understanding people. Some are even learned people, they have no problem. But to tell them go home, how do you chase them? How do you determine their age? Are you going to stand and ask the ID cards? You see, these are very, very difficult logistics to put in place.
Wow, very difficult logistics to put in place. For you, Pastor Julius, did you have a case in point where someone who's above 58 came to church yesterday? And probably if so, how did you deal with it?
I think most of the yesterday, I think it has been very discouraging for the 58-year-olds, and we have them in church, but you find they also obeyed and they kept away. But I can say it is very discouraging for somebody at 58. 58 is a very young person. That's a very vibrant person. If you're talking about 70 or 75, then we could be saying, I have a father who is 82. And this gentleman wakes up every single day and goes out to his own business every single day. And he wears his mask. If this person is able to go to the public at the age of 82 and he's making his own decision, they know the risk. So I think 58, as Kenyans, we have lowered the age. I mean, we have created a barrier for people who are still very energetic. Look at the parliament. Many of the people in the parliament are over 58. Some of them are even in their 60s. And we have not seen a limitation that parliamentarians should not go to the parliament. So I think we should revise that age. I know at the end of the day, every government works by facts, as I said before, and they are doing this with a thought of care, but that can be changed. 58 is too young to be limited not to be going to church.
That's an interesting statement. 58 is too young to be limited to not go to church. But the government said that this is just in a bid to protect them, saying that, that age, a number of them could be vulnerable.
I agree. Let me tell you, I agree that they could be vulnerable, but everybody knows himself. Yesterday we had young people who did not come to church because some of them were scared. Some of them did not feel the confidence of coming to church. We had younger, older people who made their own decision by the way they feel they are not going to church. I think everybody can be able to weigh themselves, and having the facts are right and knowing that they are vulnerable, then they will be able to make that decision. The same way, just like in the public, we are seeing people going on their businesses. Those who are vulnerable, they are taking care of themselves. I think when we talk about a 58-year-old person, they are mature enough to know whether they should go to a public place where they can, there's a risk of getting a disease, or whether they should stay at home. So I think that should be left to them instead of just deciding over one cover. As I said before, there are 58, many 58 old men and women are very fit and very healthy.
Well, many 58-old men and women are very fit and very healthy. Now, coming to you, Pastor Walter, yes, you did not reopen, but we've seen earlier on churches and pastors were crying for the government to reopen churches. Yet, even as they were opened yesterday, there was still a low turnout. What would you attribute this to? Could it be fear of the disease? Just what are your thoughts in this?
Thank you very much. As we stand now, people are aware of the spread of the coronavirus, and people are disciplining themselves in that. And that is why you find that as much as the churches were opened, the turn-up was low because the awareness has come. And you remember again the way the COVID-19 is being presented to people as an announcement. It brings a lot of fear, and it brings a lot of people are now getting to know this thing is very dangerous. So this one will bring fear in the people, and people, again, apart from fear, people are just becoming careful with their lives, which is good. And that is why we say that if it could just be left open, this will be okay. Because remember, in this status, there are people who believe there is no coronavirus. There are people who believe it is there and it kills. And there are people who believe it is there and they can manage it as it comes. And when look at those categories of people, everybody will handle it as he thinks or as they imagine. But for sure, it is just a matter of people being careful and people understanding what is going on. So the turn-up was brought by, low turn-up was brought by, number one, people are thinking, if I go, I may be turned away.
Okay.
If I go, I may not be allowed to sit in. And number two, it was brought by the precaution that an individual person has put on himself or herself, that I don't want to go out of the house. Because even as we speak right now, there are people who have not left their houses since March. They're just in their houses. I know most of them. They're just saying, I want to remain indoors because this thing is dangerous. So it depends on an individual.
Okay. Now, Pastor Walter saying that it depends on an individual, and some were just feeling like probably they would have been turned away. That's why there was a bit of a low turnout. Bishop Joseph, from your perspective, and even what happened yesterday at your church, given there was a bit of a low turnout, what would you attribute this to?
Well, what I know, as Pastor Walter is saying, is quite similar that of what I think, because even the women have a lot with children. They never came to church. They didn't go to church at all. And this means people are aware that this disease is there. They are aware there is corona. But people are really worried of so many things, because now when you find that some people come to church on their own, and sometimes they are afraid, if I go to church, maybe what I've been told is dangerous. Maybe I'll be in trouble. I'll be endangering my family. And some of them feel like, what is going on? Let me see how it goes this Sunday. And the other Sunday, I see if there is no this kind of complication, then I can go to church. So the people have different and various reasons why they could not go to church. Because the way it looks like, going to church, you will get corona. Okay. So going to church is not safe for you. You know, the way it looks like, in the church there is a very big problem, and yet I can say this. Our members goes to markets. The same members are in matatus. The same members are carried on pikipikis. The same members are exposed to so many other areas where they do their business.
Yeah.
So when it comes, the church is more dangerous, then the people starts wondering what is wrong with the church and what is going on, because we are the same people who are free to go everywhere and do other things. So this thing of the church, I think the approach should be very positive so that people can see the church is a better place. They can even go and pray for this virus to get out of people.
Okay. Well, Pastor Julius, let me come to you in regards to the same issue. Just speaking from what Bishop Joseph is saying, that people could have been a worried lot. Speaking from what Pastor Walter is saying, that people were afraid probably they would have been turned away. In your case in point, recording a low turnout, given the fact that people are crying for churches to be reopened, pastors were saying that it's important that church is an essential service. Just picking from you, what could have been the reason of the low turnout? Because this just wasn't in Nairobi, but also across the country in different counties where the low turnout was recorded. What could you attribute this to?
No, I agree with Bishop.
Yeah.
One, there has been a lot of, I think the last place to be opened for public has been the church. And in the beginning, there was a lot of negative communication and information about things that happened, either a bishop who went and was considered careless. And you see, it was so funny because when any other person was mentioned, it was not considered as, let's say, for example, politicians or businessmen. But when it comes to maybe one person in the church who is a leader, then the labeling is the church is careless. So a lot of people have gotten the negative information like the church is the only place you can get COVID-19. And that has created a fear. I met one young person, actually a teenager, almost about 19. And I asked him this morning, and I asked him, why didn't you come to church yesterday? And he was like, I was afraid. Because what they have been seeing and what they have heard is that the church is the only place where the risks are the highest. So I think also the communication. Number two, I will also agree that people naturally have become fearful. Nobody likes to die. So anything that will bring them closer to death, especially the public places, they are scared of it. I think Pastor Walter has said that there are members he has spoken to who have stayed in their homes for over 3 months. So it is good, of course, to take care. But at the same time, people need to have confidence. COVID may be here to stay for a longer time. So we need to adjust and do the things that we are being told, wearing of masks, sanitizing, and I think that will change a lot of the landscape, even in people attending churches.
Okay, and just again for the benefit of our viewers, I'm having a conversation with various pastors from different churches across the country to just paint for us a picture how it was yesterday, given that at least it was the day one of reopening of churches. How was it? Did they manage to at least follow these guys? What kind of measures did they put in place? Now, I want to start with you, Pastor Walter, in this next aspect, which is again quite a number of questions that Kenyans have really been asking, that the reason as to why many pastors pushed for churches to be reopened is because a good number of them wanted the tithes and offerings to be paid. I know this is a bit of a controversial issue anytime when you talk about churches when it comes to matters tithes and offerings. Maybe what is your take in regards to this? Could this be the reason as to why many pastors are pushing for churches to be reopened?
That's a very good question. You know, It is unfortunate that when we talk about church,
Yeah.
people think of the offerings and the tithes that people receive. I want to tell you, when people go to their offices, when people go to work, their desire is not totally salary. It is to deliver the assignment that they have. Now the church, the pastors are having a higher assignment. And when you look at the church, before you look at the tithe and the offerings, you should look at the commitment the pastors are putting in for them to manage the congregation. Number one, our responsibility is to nourish people spiritually. If I get somebody that I can nourish spiritually, they don't give me a tithe, I'll be happy because that is my calling. Remember, some of us left very good jobs, very good businesses, and we went into ministry.
Okay.
And our going into ministry was not because we wanted money, because if it is money, we were making in businesses. If it is money, we were making in other places. We are in ministry because of the calling that God has given us. Now, as I talk about this, I'm not ignorant about the people who are opening churches for them to benefit financially. I know there are people who are opening churches to benefit financially. That is a truth. That is truth. And in every segment of life, we have imposters and we have the true people. So we cannot ignore the imposters. Yes, they are there. But those who have been called for the truth, they'll be able to manage. I know some of us have sacrificed so much, but as much as we say about opening and not reopening because of the salaries, I know the major thing is our desire as pastors is to nourish our members. Our desire as pastors, personally, as an individual, is to make sure that my members are being fed spiritually, our members are being encouraged, our members are being helped in this life. Remember, a time like this, we have so many people who are getting into depression. Remember, a time like this, we have so many people who have been fatigued. A time like this, we have people who are sick. People cannot access medication because of this COVID-19. The only place they can run to is to the church for them to be helped. So as we discuss about churches reopening, churches not reopening, the matters of offerings and the tithes should be the last thing to come, because the major thing of the church is to work with the people and develop them spiritually. The other things are just the additions that we get on it. And there are some churches that even people don't give offerings. We have people who are serving in very difficult places. They don't get offering, don't get tithes, and these pastors are committed to the work of God.
Okay, wow, fair enough. Pastor Walter just saying that when it comes to the issue of reopening of churches, matters with tithes and offerings should come last. But let me pick your mind in regards to this, Bishop Joseph, because this is a question that oftentimes Kenyans would say, especially this time when the churches were closed, that the reason as to why they're pushing for it to be open is because they want the tithes, they want the offerings. What is your take on this?
I think we have a very big problem in our country where some politicians think that the pastors are serving in churches because of offering and tithe. I don't think that is right. That is not right. Because, as Pastor Walter is saying, we are serving God by calling. I remember myself, I was working in Kenya Ports Authority. I had a very good position. I resigned 37 years ago. I've been serving God. And I was earning good money, but I did not look at the money. I looked at the calling. What the Lord wants me to do is what I'm doing. And I know there are various bishops and pastors who are only there to serve God according to their calling. Remember, most of people have a lot of issues. People are depressed. People are confused. Some people have no peace. Some homes, the marriages are breaking. Some children are running out of parents. It is the church, it's the pastor who should counsel, guide them, give them hope, and help them. The church should not be seen the way it is, that it is offering that makes us make a church. It is wrong. The church in society is really helping what even the other side, what the government could be doing. Because they are really taking care of people. Some people are, you can get somebody who's going to commit suicide. At the same time, you can help this person not to die because of the problems he's having. The church is not because of offering. The pastors, maybe there are some, but I'm not sure, but most of the pastors who are called by the Lord, they don't care whether they have money or not, or whether the offering is there or not. This should be understood, and this perception should be removed. It's not a good one.
Well, this perception should be removed. And Pastor Julius Kimani, I'll be coming to you in a bit after this break, at least for you to tell us your perspective when it comes to this issue of tithes and offering, and whether, you know, for some of Kenyans who are saying that the reason as to why they were pushing for them to be reopened is because of the same issue. Probably you just be telling us your perspective on that. But we want to take a very short break. We'll be back with the pastors to at least continue to explain to us and to continue to paint for us a picture how it was on day one of reopening of churches. We take that break. We continue after the break. Stay with us.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu, mimi ni prosecutor. Niko hapa kusisitiza maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya kuhusu ugonjwa wa coronavirus. Tunaambiwa pahali pana watu wengi lazima tuweke distance, yani kuweka hatua mita 1 kwa mwenzako. Ukienda kwa matatu, weka distance. Ukienda kwa soko ama pale popote mkusanyiko wa watu, ni vizuri uweze kupeana hiyo social distance ili tuweze kumaliza maambukizi. Tukifuata haya masharti ama maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya, hakika tutaangamiza coronavirus na hali yetu ya kawaida tutairudia. Asanteni sana.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
It's a different ball game. Online concerts, album releases, and virtual parties.
That's the new norm in the entertainment scene.
Corona or no corona, lazima test.
Rock and roll on Group Vibes.
Every Monday at 10 p.m.
Hali imekuwa ngumu, hakuna pesa kila kona, kila mtu unamdai naye anasingizia corona.
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with Good Morning Kenya. We continue with our conversation on reopening of churches, and I just want to go to Pastor Julius. Now, before we went on break, you were speaking on the issue of tithes and offering, and as I had mentioned earlier, this is just in regards to what some Kenyans were saying, that the reason as to why many pastors pushed for this reopening is because of the issue of tithes and offering. Pastor Julius, very briefly, let me pick your mind on this.
I think Pastor Walter and Bishop Maisha have said it very well. Not very many pastors were called by God, and they never looked at the issue of the money. And looking at, personally, I left an accounting job. I did my BCom, and I had to leave that. And it was very hard to actually follow God for that calling. And I remember during this time of COVID, we were much more concerned. Even yesterday in church, we were telling the members, if you have a need, if you have no food, we would not lack 1 or 2 packets of funga for our members. That shows that our interest is much more than the money. But I also want to say this. let us understand that the church and the kingdom of God operates differently from any organization. God had already put the principles on the way the finances of the way the church is going to be managed, and that is through tithes and offering. And when the pastors were calling out for that, is because we also, as a church, have employed very, very many people. They are workers in the church. So we also feel for those workers. When the church is closed, there is somebody who will lack what they are supposed to be getting. But above all, I want to say, most of us, just like I can put a small comparison with some policemen, a good number of the people who are in the police force don't work in the police because of the money that is there.
Yeah.
It is actually a calling. They go there knowing that they can even die on duty. Most of them are not even well paid, but they keep on working for that organization. So the thing, let us differentiate the people who are, they are false prophets. I will say that. And Jesus even said about it, he said there'll be false prophets. False prophets will take people's money falsely, but genuine prophet will feed people with the word of God, and their lives will be transformed. And there is no wrong when they give their tithes and offering, because that is how the management of the church runs.
Okay, and fair enough. And the reason as to why I wanted you to, as pastors, at least to clarify on the issue of tithes and offering, and also the reason as to why the churches were reopened when it comes to that issue. But let's move a bit to something a bit different, and this is in regards to matters, I beg your pardon, the high rates of teenage pregnancies that we've been seeing, high rates of domestic violence as well as gender-based violence, and a good number of people were attributing this to the lack of proper spiritual nourishment, which was as a result of churches being closed. Now, that churches are reopened, do you feel as a pastor or as a bishop that this issue of teen pregnancies, domestic violence, GBV will go down? Let me start with you, Bishop Joseph.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussion on this in various capacities.
Yeah.
And we have discovered that it was wrong. And these things happened because these children were not cared for very well. And what we are saying now, we want to take full responsibility. And also we would love to see the parents also becoming very responsible, because in reality, these are our children. These are our children. They need guidance. They need to be helped. Because if you look at this high rate of pregnancies, some who did this were relatives, some were their own people. And this is wrong. And that's where the church becomes very important, because we can talk to them, we can tell them how to relate, we can warn them on dangers. Remember, even now we have a lot of problems because there are also diseases. And these children do not know anything about that. But if the church is given a chance like now, we are going to put a lot of measures to make sure that we have a very good time of talking to parents and talking to these children, helping them to see the danger of their life. Because now that they are not going to school, they are loitering all over. And I've seen when I'm driving around, I find a lot of children all over. So we, as a church, we are going to put some measures and come together and rescue our children. And I believe we shall, because that's what we have been doing.
Okay.
And you have never heard of these many pregnancies before.
All right. Now, Pastor Walter, lack of spiritual nourishment was the leading cause, at least for the many teen pregnancies that we've been seeing, and we've really had extensive discussion in regards to that, the high rates of gender-based violence. Now, at least churches have been reopened. From your perspective as a pastor, do you think that these cases will at least go down?
No and yes.
Okay, tell us.
Now, the domestic violence and other things were not really caused because people are lacking spiritual nourishment. No. The reason why these things came up is because, number one, there was idleness in the children. Children were just there. They're not going to school. They're not doing anything. around. So they could get most of the time, and out of this time, they could do whatever they want to do. Remember, the Bible says, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So when these people are idle, these children are idle, most of the time they can use it for other things. Remember, they are eating, they are drinking, they are doing what? And now they want to practice something that we are not used to doing. The domestic violence are caused by the pressure that people are going through right now. Remember, at this time, most of the parents are in the houses. A man and a woman, a wife and a husband are sitting in the house for the first time throughout the day. From morning to evening, evening to morning, bars were closed, churches were closed, people are not going on duty. So people are around. And when people are around, there's this familiarity that comes in. And out of this, they may find people fighting and doing so other things. Another thing is economic. Because people have lost their jobs, people have lost their income. So there's a lot of stress that brings this domestic violence. So those are some of the things that are bringing these issues of domestic violence and teenage pregnancies. But churches are there to give guidance. Churches are there to help. But remember, as we talk about churches being a place where they can get help, the best place you can get help again is home. Because parents have been given these children, it is our responsibility to take care of our children, to give them morals, and the work of the church is to enhance what the parents have done. Remember in the book of Proverbs 22:6, the Bible says, bring up the child on the ways that you wanted them to grow, and when they grow up, they'll not forget about them. So these children are supposed to be brought up in the right ways from their family, and then when they come to church, we are just enhancing what is there. So I may not blame the issue of not going to church, but what I'm blaming is the idleness and the free time that these children have. The parents are together, and the economic constraints, and this thing may end up bringing conflict in the families and children misbehaving and getting pregnant. The solution is in the church, but not 100% with the church.
Okay, the church is there to enhance what the parents teach the children. But now, Pastor Julius, coming to, again, a bit of a different issue. This is in regards to the COVID-19 response team. Yes, again, you've told us that for you as a church, you reopened, but do you have the COVID-19 response team in your church, at least to ensure that all these guides and protocols that you're talking about can be well maintained and well followed even moving forward?
Yes, we do have. We have the main people who are working with the ushering department. We have strengthened them, and their main purpose is to ensure that every part that is supposed to be done, for example, the availability of the sanitizers, the rules are followed. If somebody is not wearing mask, they just, in a very kind way, remind them to do that. And we also have placed in the church posters indicating the same. And so mostly the people who are in the ushering department have been re-prepared and retrained to handle the response that concerns the COVID-19. And I believe as we continue, there'll be more people. We also have in the same church, we have nurses. We also have people who are in the health industry. And they are also assisting us in doing it even in a better way. So that is in place. And as I say once again, not only in our church, but I believe the churches have got responsible men and women. I will say that we have looked at the church as the pastors alone. If we look at every church, they are professionals, they are people of maturity who are able to advise the leadership on how to do this thing. So we are well able to respond.
All right. Now, coming to you, Bishop Joseph Maisha, what of your church? Do you have a COVID-19 response team that is at least well trained to know how better to manage people even as we move forward, at least to ensure that these guides and protocols that you're talking about can be, well taken care of and people are following them?
Yeah, we had an interfaith committee that came to discuss with us recently on most of these issues. And we have formed committees we have called all the bishops and we have discussed this. We have formed committees, the COVID committees in every church. And we have asked every pastor to make sure every church has a COVID committee. In my church, I have one. that is supposed to be looking at all these various things. I have books and everything I've given them to go through. So I believe as we are going, something is going on better because now we are doing the right thing. We don't want people to go without information. So we are doing the same, and I believe every church is now responsible.
Wow, okay, fair enough. Now, just as we bring this conversation to a close, let me pick your last words in regards to the sustainability of these measures. Let me start with you, Pastor Walter. In your perspective, do you think that they will be sustainable moving forward?
Thank you. The first thing I would like to say that as a church, we have set up a COVID advisory committee of 10 people who will be helping us in looking at the information on COVID and guiding the church on what we can do for us to manage the situation. It is chaired by the senior pastor, so that's already in place. Now, on this matter, on the way forward, I think, as the president said, he's observing how this will go. And it is my prayer that I want to talk to all the pastors out there, all the ministers out there, all those who have open churches out there. It is good for us to observe all the guidelines that have been given by the government. It is good for us to observe all the rules that have been set by the government. Because if I'm safe, you are safe. So this thing, if we manage it well, we shall be able to overcome. But as we continue observing on the first step, the first phase of opening, if the churches will manage this well, then I request the committee that is working on this to allow the churches to operate according to their space and according to the number of people they can hold in their sanctuary. This will go a long way to help us reach as many people as possible. Another thing that I'm finding to be very difficult, and I would like to bring this to the attention, is that the expenses that are involved in this are too high. Because we are supposed to do fumigation, we are supposed to have sanitizers, we are supposed to have running water, you are supposed to have masks, you are supposed to have to do cleaning of the church every time you have a service, and this one again will affect the church in the area of finances. And as you said, it is true, the church, people come to church, we are not ignoring giving.
Okay.
We request members to support the church in the area of giving, which is important again.
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor Walter. Now coming to you, Pastor Julius, very briefly, moving forward, do you think these measures are going to be sustainable? Moving forward, at least, will people continue following these guides in terms of hand washing, sanitizing, wearing of face masks as they come to church? Let me pick your mind very briefly.
I believe people will do so because one of the things that all of us pastors are doing is to emphasize that people do the same. And with a good understanding, as I said, every church has mature people, and when they see others doing the same, they will continue to do the same. So I believe they are sustainable, and I believe that even the spread of COVID will decrease because we have more people listening to pastors more than anything. God bless.
Okay, good. And for you, Bishop Joseph, moving forward, will these measures be sustainable? Will faithfuls continue following the right protocols even moving forward?
I believe it will because now people have started understanding, people have started knowing that there is coronavirus. In the start, some people were saying, no, we don't know, but now they have started realizing. And because we want to be putting all the education to these people coming together and discussing, I believe there will be no problem. Because right now, I can see when we meet, people are saying, we are prepared, I'm prepared, I've done this, I've done that. In my church, there's no problem. I've done everything. Our committee, which is working, and I have nurses, and health workers and doctors also included in that. So I believe that is not an issue. The thing I would like to say is the interfaith are trying to put phases. So we are going in the first phase, we go to second phase, we go to the third phase, and then the fourth phase is where now, if the coronavirus will have gone down, then everything becomes normal. I would love to say that's a good idea, but let them also look in the second phase to see, after they have seen exactly how people have behaved, how the churches have behaved, how the pastors have behaved, let them now ease in some things there and there so that people can see themselves going to their church. Because for sure, the church with a big space, the church with many members, you put 100 people, all the chairs and seats are completely vacant. It doesn't make much sense.
Okay.
So I think the fears or anything that is there, I hope now it is going to be easy so that people should go to church, because going to church is better because people will also be nourished spiritually and there are changes of life and behavior from the church.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. So those have been my guests this morning. That has been Bishop Joseph Maisha of Ushindi Gospel Church from Mombasa. I've also been joined by Pastor Julius Kimani of Shelter of Love, as well as Pastor Walter Bulimu of Friends International Church, Friends International Center Church here in Nairobi. There on your screens, those have been my three guests. Thank you very much again, gentlemen, for making time this morning and at least painting for us a picture how it was on day one of the opening of churches, and also moving forward some of the guides that at least you will continue advising the government to do, as well as the faithfuls to do. So that is where we bring it to a close on our first conversation of the day on matters reopening of churches. And now we move to our next conversation of the day. This morning we want to talk about matters interior design industry here in Kenya. We want to better understand how for you as an individual you can be able to get into matters interior design, how you can survive in this industry, and also how best you can thrive. Joining me on set is Carol Gikonyo, who is the owner of Posh Decor and Design Services. She'll be talking to us about matters interior design. Carol Gikonyo, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this fine morning?
I'm very fine. Just
all right.
cold.
Okay, good enough. Now, before we get to the whole aspect of matters interior design, first of all, you are in finance, banking, at least in the corporate world. Help us understand, how was it for you? What was the experience like working in the corporate scene before you moved to entrepreneurship?
Okay, it was quite interesting. I think it was when I was young and I was trying to build myself, and also trying to, you know, in our education system, we are all encouraged to go to white collar jobs.
Yes.
So that was, I found myself in the financial market, but I studied first IT, then ended up in banking and finance. So it was good while it lasted. I enjoyed myself totally. And because I was very passionate about marketing, I think interior design is my passion. So I just found myself there. But with banking, as that's my professional thing, and it took me places. My networks come from there. Yeah.
Okay, so then what exactly made you move from corporate to interior design? Seeing that at least it was good, it was nice, things were also working there. What then made you move to this other side of entrepreneurship?
Okay, you know, in employment, most of the times you leave your boss, not the job. So I left my boss, and I didn't know where I was going. So God just found a way to make things happen for me. I found myself jobless, and then I found myself doing the interior design thing. Yeah.
Wow. What a story. Found yourself jobless. But just again, for the benefit of our viewers, you're talking about matters interior design, and I'm speaking to Carol Gikonyo, owner of Posh Decor and Design Services, to help us understand a bit about that. But you're saying that you lost your job, and that is how you moved to entrepreneurship. So it wasn't that you just decided, I will move.
Yeah, it was more of a survival tactic for me. But because it's something I was very passionate about, as in it's something that I like colors, I like making things look good. So it just happened that when I left employment in 2013, I reupholstered my seat. So when you're in employment, you really don't know how to go to Gekomba and all those things.
Yeah.
So here I was at home, you have nothing to do. So a friend of mine told me, we can repair your seats. Because my son was about 1.5 going to 2. And the seats would be dirty. So like, let's change them to a darker shade. So I found myself going to Gikomba to look for fabric. Then I was amazed, as in there is a lot to select from. Then I did my seat.
Quite a variety.
Yes, a variety. Then I found myself, then I did my seat. Then I thought, okay, I was in the corporate world. How many people have time to do this? And then we all have a bad perception of fundis. You contract them and the story becomes another long story.
What you wanted goes left.
Yes. So I was like, okay, let me advertise. So I put it up. That's the time Kilimani Moms was new. So I posted my before and after photo of my seats. And I got calls and I got business. And from there, I got into the job. Yes.
So at least that's how you transited and moved away from corporate. As much as you lost the job, at least you were able to move to entrepreneurship and specifically interior design and decor. Now, for your business, which is Posh Decor and Design Services, at least paint for us a picture for the benefit of our viewers. What exactly do you deal with? What are the kind of products that you sell there?
Okay. Basically, interior design is very wide. There's a lot that is incorporated in it. As I've said, I started with sofas. So for like 3 to 4 years, I specifically just specialized on reupholstery. Get an old seat, put new covers, and just make it look nice, as in modernize it. At times, we would change the structure, but it's very hard.
Old seats?
Yes, old seats. Okay. And interesting enough, that industry is big. That's an aspect that many people, maybe you think it's not, there are no people doing, as in people go out and buy new seats. Majority of the Kenyan market, they reupholster their seats. They rarely go and buy seats.
So that's like an untapped kind of industry.
Yes. Okay. So then with time, you know, like if I come to your house, when we change the fabric color, we just make it look nice. So the next thing becomes what? You want to change your curtains. So I got into the curtains. Yes.
You go to the curtains.
You go to the curtains, then you go to the wall. No, you're going to painting. Then you look at aesthetics. What can we add here? As in, we do accent chairs, we do console, we do throw pillows. Everything now became, but it's more of like the living space that is in the sitting room.
Wow. You look like, you know, you're so vast with matters interior design, interior decor. Someone like, in as much as, yes, it's passion, but you're really so into it. So again, just makes me ask that question. Yes, in as much as it is your passion, did you go to school to study it, or it was self-taught?
I didn't go to school to study it. It was self-taught. Now, the issue with business, and mostly when you dive in and you don't know anything. So for the first 2-3 years, learning curve. You have to learn the market, so you have to know where to get what where. Then you also learn how to work with people. Interesting enough, for me, getting clients was not hard because of my banking background. So we were comfortable getting money, selling money. So if I come to your house, I will sell. When it comes to interior design, for me, it comes out like a natural thing because I'm able to blend in colors. So there are clients who I find, and you just tell me your general idea, and I'm able to bring it to life. Because now I've been in it for a while now. But getting used to the business, it takes time.
It takes time.
Yes.
And so that question is just for the benefit of our viewers, especially for those young upcoming entrepreneurs. Because someone would say, you know, I studied banking. Like for you, you were a Daystar. You at Strathmore as well. Did so much of the corporate banking, business. Someone would say, I did journalism. But I feel like I want to start doing baking. I didn't go to school. I feel like I want to start doing fashion. I feel like I want to start doing design. But just because I didn't go to school, then why would and how would I do it? Now, for you saying that it was self-taught, at least you're clearing the air that you can be able to do this by yourself. Okay.
Interesting enough, with the society we're living in right now, because there are no jobs, as in you can clear campus and you don't get a job. So what do? You use your God-given talents. Everybody has something that they can do.
Use your God-given talents.
Yes. And you just only need to tap to them. And interesting enough, there are so many jobs, as you're saying, like baking. How much money do you need to start? And how many friends do you have? So you just do. for me, interesting enough in this business is that there's no capital. You don't need any capital.
Wow.
You just need to have an idea. And then we thank God for things like Facebook and Instagram and all social media pages,
Yes.
because you're able to put yourself out there and you get clients. Yes.
Wow, Carol, that is interesting. What do you mean when you say you don't need capital? Because again, that always comes up anytime you're talking about startups, anytime you're talking about business. Somebody would say, how do I then get the chairs, if at all, if it's interior design? How do I get to the coffee tables that I want to go sell? What do you mean when you say I don't need capital?
Okay, for me, for my element, because as I've said, you decide which avenue, which sector of interior design you need to do.
Okay.
So here I am coming to your house, you have your seat, you want to change it. So we agree on the colors, I'll come with the samples of fabric. Then I give you a quotation. You need to give me at least 60% of that quotation. Okay. So you're the one who will give me the money to deliver.
All right.
Yes.
Now it makes sense, because I wanted you to clear and clarify for us. When you say you don't need capital, what exactly does it mean? Because oftentimes there's that question, then how do I start?
Yeah.
What amount of money do I need? Anytime we hear about business, that there's always some money that has to go inside. So at least you've clarified for that, you know, in this capacity, then there's no capital that probably someone would need.
Yeah.
But then also, when you're talking about interior design, is there a difference between interior decor and interior design? And if it's there, what is the difference?
Yeah, there is. Interior decor is what you see, as in the seats, the curtains, and all that. Interior design, it's the whole picture. As in, it's how you look at the space. As in, you're given a room, what do you do with it? So you design
like
it.
An empty room.
Yes, an empty room. So you design. You design, where do the seats go? How will the seats look like? What design of the seats? Do you add color? What colors go in that space? Yes, that's a design element. Then the decor is now when you're bringing the pieces together. So you have the seat, so what next? Do you throw in pillows? Do you throw in color? Those things. Now the decor part is just what you see. But mostly the design element is where you're given space and find a way of doing something with it.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, since we have established that actually there's a difference between interior decor and interior design, and we know that you at least are a designer. When you look at this room, this studio, let me put you up to task. If you were to change something, what would you change in this space, and probably why?
I would change the seats first.
Why?
Because they're black. So you need some color and also something modern. These seats they look official. They just look like a reception seat somewhere. So they look very office. So they don't look so comfortable. So I'd want a really nice lounge. Yes, you'd make a lounge for this one-on-one.
For this kind of setup.
For this
probably.
setup, yes. Okay. You make it a lounge, then you can add some maybe stools, but really nice stools, and then also flowers, some dash of color.
Really, now you're actually spotting that difference between design and decor. Now, coming to your business, you are both online as well as physical, because you also have a physical store. How would you compare being in those two spaces, online and physical?
Okay, online you're able to reach more people, as in a wider, because for me my physical store is in Ongatarongai. That's where I reside, so it's there. So how many people will just come in? Maybe you'll get walk-ins who would come in. But online, you're able to put out the details of what you do, of the different elements. Also online, I'm able to get clients from all over, as in there's Nairobi and there's also Kenya. Because I've done Kisumu, I've gone to Nakuru, I've gone to Naivasha. Well, still, and all that business has come through online. So with online, you get diversity of clients, but with physical location, you're only limited to that area. Yeah.
So that means at least online has pushed your business further.
Yeah.
And could online be the way to go when it comes to businesses from your perspective?
Yes, it is. Okay. Yes, it is. It's the way to go, because that's where technology, that's where we are. As in, that's this age of technology. That's why everybody is. And you can see even now, even shopping, people are not going, I don't need to go to the store. I don't need to go to a restaurant to eat.
And actually, I can attest to that.
Yes,
personally.
People are shopping online. Yeah. So that's where the next level is. And most people, again, for me, I think coming from the corporate world, most people in the corporate world are they are lazy. they don't want to get tired. So they won't be, why would I bother to go look, I don't know, I go visit this store, go visit that store, go look for that workshop. Well, the workshop can come to your house. Yes.
Okay. So clearly online is the way to go when it comes to Matters businesses.
Yeah.
And again, just to remind our viewers, you're talking about Matters interior design. We want to better understand how to get into this kind of business. Probably what do you need, how to be able to survive in the interior design business, and also how to thrive as an individual who is into Matters interior design as well as interior decor. Now, coming back to you, Carol, still sticking on matters to do with the online space. At times, there are these clients who would probably say, for me, I have to get this commodity before I pay for it. In your business, what mode of payment do you have for your clients, and why did you choose this mode of payment?
For me, I use, I've gotten checks, M-Pesa, but M-Pesa is that's the mode. Rarely do you get cash clients. But then most people don't deal with cash. So it's M-Pesa and cash. The number of clients who don't trust the process, like I've gotten you from Facebook, how do I trust you with my money? Let me say, out of all my clients, I've only experienced like 1% so 99% don't have a problem with trusting. And again, with a client that I did their sit, they said they research. As in, I'm not the only one offering these services online. There are many people. So by the time a client settles on you, they have called a couple. And some of them say, we call, we don't get a response, we WhatsApp, we don't get a response. So how you respond to them just gives them hope. Then for me, I do a consultation visit. As in, we don't just discuss online. I consult, and I come to your house, we talk, I look at the seat, we negotiate, and I give you a final quote. And then I get business. Interesting enough, like during the quarantine this season, I got a client from Kitui. She wanted just fabric. But she trusted it all the way. So I sent her photos of the fabric that she wanted, the different types. She picked one. She told me I needed this number of meters for this fabric. And I told her this is the amount. She sent the full amount. And I packed and I sent it to her. So there are some who are very trusting, but there are some who are they are skeptics. But interesting enough, in this business, 60%, as in there's no, even I wouldn't do anything. If you don't commit, because it's commitment, if you don't commit on your end, how do I commit on my end?
Now, speaking of those skeptics, because then one may be a bit skeptical even to order and to trust that they will get this product because probably of what has happened to them in the past. So as someone wants to start up this kind of business, then how do you build trust on your clients?
You know, most of the times, like even when we were doing sales in banking, you're told it's you. I'm the brand. It's me.
So this is the business.
So I am the business.
Okay.
So it's either I have branded myself well for you to trust me or not. So it is most of the times they don't buy your product, they buy you. If you're not the perfect image, or you don't present yourself well, or you don't know your stuff, because if you don't know, somebody will just read. So,
like, I'm not so sure. What are they telling me? I'm not so sure. Like what I saw on that Facebook page and what they're telling me, a bit conflicting.
Yes. Okay.
So basically what you're saying is that for you as a person, you have to ensure that also how you package yourself as a business owner is at least will be very trustworthy to a client.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you also spoke about the 1%, especially in your case, who are not as trustworthy. Then how do you deal with this one? A case in point, someone has seen a product, maybe if it's Instagram or Facebook, and for them they're saying that for me I have to pay after I get the product. And probably for you it's you have to pay first then I deliver the product. How do you deal with this?
It's the same thing. I think this is it's a business of instincts. Because even the clients who have been able, I can deliver without even getting any amount. That means I've also gauged you, and I know if I deliver, you're good for your money. As in, you'll do what you can. Then, interesting enough, I've also met clients. Like for me to even build my social media page. Initially, it was for like 2-3 years, it was just there. I would just post like the end photo and all that. One client told me, you know what, for this page of yours, I think what you need to do, can you show people the process? So that they know you're not only picking pictures online. So they told me, show them from the beginning, you strip the seat and all that, and your people working on it and the final product. And that one made a difference. So you also meet clients who also build you. Yeah.
So also showing the process is again one of the ways to create trust
Yeah.
to your clients, and this is for any business startup or any business person. All right. You also mentioned that 2 years, 3 years you've been doing this, doing that, changing 1, 2, 3 things. So for how long have you been in the interior design business, and how has it been?
Interesting enough, there's also I took a break and went back to employment.
Yeah.
Just that kabag.
Wow. After okay.
So I started in 2013. So I did it 2013, 2014, 2015. Mid of 2015, I went back to banking, but not this time. I went to microfinance. I worked there for 2 years. 2017, and that time I had just left my page. It was just there. You get clients. Nothing. I wasn't posting anything. But what I did, I just put somebody else's number, so he was getting business from it. Because once even when you Google upholstery or you go to Facebook, you will see.
Yeah.
You find it. Then I went back in 2017, but now in 2017 I was sure I am done with employment.
So that means the first time you weren't really sure that you wanted to do this.
You remember, I just
loved it. You had passion, but you weren't really sure.
Yeah, you see, remember I told you I left.
Okay.
I left employment.
Yeah.
It was not planned.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the same thing for me. I think I would speak to the people who have found themselves jobless
especially during this
COVID-19. Yes, one thing is that there's always something that you can do. Okay, after you finish the pity party and feeling sorry for yourself, you need to ask yourself, what do I have in my hands? Because God says he uses what you have at that time. And that's why you've seen many guys have gone, they've packed their cars, they're doing groceries and all that on the road, because that's what you have at that particular time. So use your talent. So something that you're really good with, especially your hands, it will make a difference. Yeah.
Now when you came back, at least after being again at the job, then you now came back to business, to entrepreneurship. So now this time you're really sure you wanted to do this. And how was it? How has it been, rather?
But interesting, that's when it opened up, as in it opened up.
Now when you are sure 100%, this is it.
Yes, because now I focused more. I went back to my page, I revamped it, I focused more. That's why I met like that client, she's called Yvonne. She told me, I have looked and looked, and by the time I was settling on you, I was sure.
Now this is it.
Yes. So she was like, this page of yours, can you do this and this and this? And I was like, okay, interesting, let me do it. Then there's this thing on Facebook called Boost that most people don't know. There's also how you can advertise on Facebook. So when I did Boost in 2018, I was overwhelmed because you're getting like 5 clients in 1 week.
Wow.
Yes.
And these are people that have different projects. Someone maybe says, I want my office to be redesigned. I want my house to be redesigned. Wow. So clearly looks like business has been good.
No, it was good then.
It was good then. But COVID has a
then COVID came.
Things up.
But even with COVID, I think the first 2-3 months of like the lockdown and all that were very slow. But when people started coming back and realizing this corona is here to stay, they also now decided, okay, sir, I have this. Interesting enough, a friend was telling me, you should be talking to your clients now. They're at home. They must be seen. There's something wrong with my seat. There's something wrong with this and that.
Because you have so much time when you're home.
Yes. And there's a friend of mine, he was in the house. I told him in December, this is what I do. So he's like, when he was home this time, he's like, hey, I looked at those seats and they don't look nice. So can you come and do something to them?
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's really nice. At least we know that actually during this time, even though things look a bit difficult and tough, someone can still use their talent to at least make their lives better and even make a living. Now, speaking of using talents to make a living and even make your life better, at least with your physical shop, I want to believe that you have employees. You know, at least you've ensured that people are having work or having a job. So how do you relate with your employees? And in an instance where you have conflict, then how do you solve them?
You just have a conversation. Interesting enough, in this space, you know, everybody's skilled. It's a skilled kind of job. So for my guys, most of the times, as much as I know, we consult. It comes from them. Because even if I go see a seat from a client, they also advise. So they'll tell you, here, let's do this. This can't work. And when there's conflict, it's the same thing that when you're employed, There's conversations that you have, and there's also letting go.
Okay.
And especially in the Juakali sector, the letting go is more.
So that means you're not one of those CEOs who are imposing that, you must do things this way, you must design this way. No. At least you have a sit down to consult and talk to them and see how you can move forward to make the business grow.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what about this instances where, like I just mentioned, a client has seen some of your work on either social media platform, and then they paint for you a picture of what they want. Then you go you go do the work, you bring it to them, and then they go like, Carol, it's not quite what I really wanted. So it's more of like rejection of your work. In that instance, as a business person, have you found yourself in such kind of a space, and how have you dealt with it?
Oh, okay, let's say 25%. You will get those clients who are never satisfied. So there's also, in this business, it's also an element of understanding personalities. Because there are some people you can never please at any point. You'll not do something and they are very excited about it. So they will always have an issue. They will always pick something.
So in as much as you put your effort and try to design and decorate the way you know it's good, they will still say, no,
that's why the first time, I'm also being professional. So I'll come, I will redo it. Then the second time, then I was like, okay, sir, here, let's just say I can't. And they walk away. Yes, I've had those ones. And you say, no, there you lose your money. Because you see, there's a percentage that the client was left with, and they're not willing to give it to you. So you just walk away from it. Because the more you pursue that matter, you lose your own money. So that means even you yourself, you're losing. And that is in every business. Even when I started, as in there are those ones you lose. You will lose the whole amount.
Everything.
Everything.
And you've done the work.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So what do you do, especially if you're trying to please somebody, you can do the work and they're not happy and you go redo it. So there, a loss is already, and some will work. But if you get a client, I'm just saying this thing is about personality, and you will get some clients who will never. So what I've learned with time, there are some people you can't please.
No matter what you do.
Yes. So with those clients, just know how to deal with them. So you meet all kind of personalities. Then there are some, we do this work at home. Even the fundis know. So we can come reupholster, sit in your house. There are some clients who will hover around. They will be there. You've removed something. They look, don't see everything. Exactly. Ati mbona unafanya hii? Hapana. Ipa ikai vizuri. Yes. And interesting enough when it comes like that, because these guys, it's their skills, they are creative and all that. They feel they're not comfortable. Okay. Even I, when I'm hanging around, I also ask questions. So when there's a job, I deliver them and I go. Because the moment you start correcting them, it takes longer for them to finish.
And see, I mean, Carol, I think that was very important, at least to help us understand, because especially for startups again, because you're also speaking to those Kenyans out there who want to start this kind of business or who are in this kind of business, and they're wondering, wow, if someone ever rejects my work and I've put so much work into it, then how do I go about it? So what you're saying is that just ability to be able to understand that people are different, and no matter what you do, sometimes you can never please people.
Yeah.
Wow, that is really that is really quite powerful. Now, for you as an interior designer, what are you doing to at least continue upgrading your game, upgrading your skills, knowing that sometimes there are new trends in the market? What are you doing?
I do a lot of we say Google is your friend, so I do a lot of reading.
Teacher Google.
Yes, Teacher Google. And I'm also, for me, okay, apart from now the way Corona came, I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to go do at least an interior design course that would help me understand this space better. So that is something that is in the pipeline. But also with this season, it's been hard. You know that it's so hard to the point that I'm also thinking of going back to work.
Wow, going back to employment.
When things, you stay, as in I'm telling you, you're in the business world and you're not making money. So you wake up month 1, there's no money, month 2, there's no money. What do you do? And most of the times you're going back to your pocket. So you've spent every savings, all your savings and all that. So now I'm living on God's mercy. But but interesting enough, also God is quite faithful. Because when you're at the end, He comes through. Yeah.
So that means business has not really been good, especially during this COVID-19.
No, it
And what
hasn't.
about your employees? Have you managed to sustain them?
They also do. They're on contract, so they're not like on, I have them like full time, so they can go out and look for jobs. But the first, right now they are getting, but the first from, I think, March, April, May, it was bad. Those ones of whatever you get, you share.
Whatever you get, you share. So probably just an advice to those entrepreneurs out there, and even for those that are in business right now, given the fact that COVID-19 has really affected, in fact, every sector. At least for you, you didn't, in as much as they're on contract, you didn't say now you go home until things come, back to normal completely. What would you tell such kind of business person, at least to better know how they can be able to go about in times when things are difficult and how to sustain employees?
I think it's just, if you have a good working relationship with your employees, it starts from there. And with this season, I think where most people where we've established is that everybody understands that there's a problem. We're in this era of this disease that we do not understand. It has affected us economically. So now people are sharing, as in it's, if I have, I give. And most of the times when you tell them, I can't pay your salaries, I can't sustain paying rent, and people, you understand, everybody is human. This disease has brought everybody to the same level. The ones who have, they have, and the have-nots, they're there.
Everyone is now on the same level.
Yeah.
Learning how to live and accommodate one another is basically what you're saying, Carol.
Yeah.
Okay, now just again, looking at how this disease has also affected us as a country and even as business, and what you're saying is that you feel like you may go back to to employment because of how business is doing in this capacity. So that means, at least for people also who are in entrepreneurship, and even for those that are planning to get into entrepreneurship, they should also be looking for something, again, also on the side to doing as much as they're doing, business.
Yeah, that's where you've just, interesting enough, what I've learned about business, you have to diversify. You can't focus on one line. So you have to have different streams of income. So you might be in employment, you might be running your side hustle, or you might be doing, like, I'm in the interior design space. I have a friend who does, she's into the tours. Interesting enough, I've also found myself in it, helping her get clients, helping her get the branding right. Then you also find yourself in other spaces. Again, from my banking background, I become a consultant now. I'll consult on financial matters. I normally do chama trainings. I will train people on how to manage their chamas, how to find things to do, and how to take it to the next level. So you must have different things to do when things are this bad.
Things are big. You just can't stay that, I'm employed, so this is it. Or I'm into this business, then this is it. Things can go left and you have to find a way to survive. So what you're saying is that diversify.
Yes.
It looks like you're a very diversified lady with so many things that you're doing. Is it in interior design, banking, finance, tours? What is your greatest inspiration as a person?
For me, I think it's a fear of just living an ordinary life. I am, interesting enough, I've come to realize that I can't be in one space, or I can't be enclosed. People in employment, there are people who can get employed for 30 years and stay in one job for 30 years. Even when I was in banking, I think I had a 10-year career, but I think the most I worked was 3 years in one institution.
Wow.
So I also moved around. So again, that already tells you I cannot settle down in an office job.
Or in one thing.
So you find yourself doing different things. But it's more of, I don't want to live an ordinary life, and I don't want to be defined by one thing, and that motivates me. And success, just, I don't want to be a failure. Yes. In life.
Wow. I think that is the best place to finish it. Finish the conversation, that you do not want to be a failure. You don't want to live an ordinary life. And also, this goes out for everyone who's watching out there, that you just don't want to be in one space doing one thing.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Carol Gikonyo, for your time, and at least for explaining to us more about interior design and helping us understand about this business.
Okay.
All right. That has been Carol Gikonyo, owner of Posh Decor and Design Services, talking to us talking to us about matters interior design, how one can be able to get into this kind of industry, how they can be able to survive, and also how they can thrive when it comes to matters interior decor as well as interior design. But that is where we've come to a close this Monday morning on Good Morning Kenya. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of the same. Many thanks for keeping us company till tomorrow. My name is Doreen Arange. Good morning.
On this show, we go beyond the headlines.
Money was not sitting somewhere waiting for Corona. Corona came and money had to be looked for.
We explore vital matters from family, health, politics, and the entertainment world.
And don't forget, it is still here where we get to give you real-time traffic updates.
And we begin with Mombasa Road, where I am. This is at the Haile Selassie Avenue roundabout.
And now, we're expanding our reach.
With in-depth analysis, more time of course, and you get to have your say.
Because we have to pay the debt, at the same time we have to make the country move on.
Mahasula ndo wanaumia.
Watu ni wagonjwa huku ndani.
All this and much more every Monday to Thursday, right here on Good Morning Kenya.
On the next episode,
I told you that when my father showed up, I would tell him about Dekis, but you had to get him all riled up.
There's something you haven't told me? Why did you feel that you had the right to be at the airport?
What hurts me even more is that she made a fool of me for so long. Why did I not see this coming?
Antonio, you have to stop blaming yourself.
Do I have to describe everything to you in detail?
Oh, I understand now. I have to tell you a lot of things.
You do?
Yes.
Like what?
In Love with Ramon.
She moves with a great athleticism around the court thanks to a sporting background that Denjeri Onyango has nurtured over the years to become one of the country's top players come administrators, while translating the same academically to move with the same ease in the corridors of justice. And this is where it all began.
I was born in the town of Eldoret many years ago, considering that I'm as old as the Republic of Kenya. And there, of course, the usual was the usual running and so on. But I was brought up in a town. And most of the time, of course, in a poverty-stricken estate, most of the things you did is just play. And there was a lot of open space. So we got into playing and start from all the very basic one of kati, bladder, and all those ones. I did all those. But more organized, of course, playing was netball in school. In primary school, I was a goal shooter. But I was very lean and small. So when I go to secondary school, Mukumu Girls High School, I got very good nuns. The school was very good academically, but also in sports. So I met there with Sister Dafroza, and she just changed my sporting life completely, in fact, forever. She changed me from netball to volleyball. And she also retained me in athletics. I did high jump and what was then called pentathlon. And in fact, I remember the first time I won a high jump. I think I was a provincial champ when I was in Form 2 in high jump. And I also went for nationals when I was in Form 2 and Form 3 for athletics as a Western Province representative. And then I also picked volleyball quite well then, because Mukumu Girls, you know, everybody knows Mukumu Girls for volleyball. And so I got into the volleyball team in school, Form 1. I completely forgot about netball because she said that was not my sport. And then from Mukumu Girls, I went to Lugulu Girls. That's another A school in volleyball.
Her pursuit for academics did not lessen her desire to excel in sports too, which bore fruit at the University of Nairobi.
In school, I kind of did almost everything. But now when I came to the university, I concentrated mostly in volleyball. And when I went to play for Kenya Commercial Bank, then I had to concentrate mostly on volleyball. And for volleyball, I played up to the national level. I remember we were the first team to win the All Africa Games gold medal in the Cairo Games in 1991. I was also in the team that won the silver in the Nairobi All Africa Games in 1987. At the time, I was a student at the law school. I had to suspend my education to go for to train for the All Africa Games. But in 1991, I had a very good employer who would give me time to go and train. Actually, I respect Mr. Lee Mudoga for that. He gave me chance to train with the national team. I would go report to work in the morning and go off in the afternoon to train with the national team. And that afforded me the chance to play the World Cup in 1991. Despite my size, I'm very aggressive. So most of the time I was an outside attacker. But I also played apart from playing what we call left position, I also played the right position in the national team. I was fairly good at backcourt cover and service reception. So most of the time I would do a lot of covering in the backcourt.
Maintaining a good balance between academics and sport is no easy task, but Njeri's aggressive attribute paid off.
I guess when you have passions for things, there's time for everything. There's nothing very magical about studying law. You just need to organize your time, give your time for playing, concentrate on your playing. Incidentally, I didn't do very many other social things. I kind of have a very routine life. I therefore would attend to my classes and then go for my training.
The outside attacker quit competitive volleyball in 2000 when other factors came into play, having served too as the secretary of the Kenya Volleyball Federation Nairobi branch.
Volleyball is an interesting sport, but like all team sports, it has its loop-sided. You kind of, it's not just your personal contribution that matters. It's the next person's contribution and the next and the next. It's a team event. And there are times I could feel extremely disillusioned by team sports. You train, you do everything that you possibly as a person can do, but the next person's output and input matters. And so when I had children, I thought, well, why not take them to some individual sports? So I took my children to swimming and lawn tennis at a very early age. I was fortunate to be near Sadili Club. So when I took them to Malaysia school, they started training at Sadili Club. And the coach there, Ezekiel Tarus, was a very interesting personality. He told me, no, to get these children to play, I want you to play. So I started training with my children.
And that's how she found her way back to the lawn tennis course before she became the vice chairperson of the Kenya Lawn Tennis Association.
I have played competitively. Yes. I've played like the Kenya Opens. When the East Africa circuits would come to Kenya, I would play. I remember my best position was, I think, a quarterfinals position in one of those East Africa circuits. And for a person who started late, I think that was good.
Njeri Onyango is also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya after being admitted to the bar in 1988.
I ran my own private firm from, I started my own private firm in 1995 and I'm still running it up to today. We do a lot of sports law even in the firm. Recently there was the task force formed to investigate doping in Kenya, which I participated in. In that capacity, we also have developed a draft sports bill, anti-doping bill in Kenya. I have been involved in anti-doping. I am the secretary for the Kenya Anti-Doping Agency, where Professor Moni Wekesa is the chair. And that's my passion. I think it's possible to win clean, and I do not understand why coaches and administrators put their charges onto drugs.
This achievement, coupled with her wit and intelligence, has opened many other doors for her in matters legal.
I was nominated by the Kenya Volleyball Federation then to the World Volleyball Tribunal, legal tribunal, which I was accepted, and I'm still a member of the tribunal up to today. I was also nominated to the Africa Legal Commission for the Africa, the continental body, which is CAVB, and up to last year I was in the CAVB legal tribunal. And then after that, in between there, I also was a manager of the national women's team. I think when I had the child and I couldn't go back to very competitive playing, the volleyball administration then decided to make me a player, a team manager. And I managed the national women's team for that period up to 1998. Currently, volleyball, I'm still only there as a legal advisor to the federation. When they have issues or legal issues, they do come to me. I do now sit in the World Swimming Federation disciplinary tribunal, which is a very active part. Whenever there are disputes, issues arising of disciplinary nature, we are called to sit and arbitrate and make decisions.
Her most recent appointment was in the Kenya Sports Disputes Tribunal, where she's a member and she's adequately prepared for the task ahead.
Sports disputes are of a specialized nature, and there's no reason why sports disputes should be taken to the normal civil courts. In many other areas, we've removed disputes of those areas from the normal courts. There's the political parties tribunal, there's the cooperatives tribunal, name them. So the specialization in the tribunal ought to make a big difference. You will also realize that world over, sports has been removed from the usual court processes, and that is why we have decisions going all the way to the court for arbitration in sports. And I therefore think it's a good way forward. And looking at the composition of the persons appointed, yes, it is possible to make a difference. I do not see why, in fact, there should be disputes regarding administration. I wish people would come to tennis. There's so much that needs to be done, and the few hands that are there cannot do everything that is there. It is possible to accommodate many more people in administration of sports. It will even bring in different expertise and different views in doing things. It's just intolerance, which I hope along the line people will learn to live along. And then if you realize the Sports Act specifically asks that the Sports Tribunal does more of mediation and arbitration and literally what in law we call alternative dispute resolution. I would want and I would advocate to my colleagues in the tribunal that we adopt more of dispute resolution by alternative means, not just a strict rules of going, sitting down, listening and making decisions.
The veteran player has waded through many murky waters, not only in the world of sports, but the world at large, to be where she is, thanks to her determination and support from her beloved husband, Wycliffe Onyango, and her 2 children.
I've been lucky. I've had an extremely supportive husband. Some of the things I do, I think, are outrageous, and many men would not have taken it. He's literally given me wings as far as my career and my sporting involvements are involved. I think he has been tolerant because he himself was a volleyball player and a volleyball coach. And he was also Secretary General of Kenya Volleyball Federation at one stage, I think up to 92. And therefore he was involved in other sports as well.
Jane Jerry Onyango, a veteran player cum administrator and now one of the most sought legal advisors in the world of sports, has not rested on her laurels and urges other women in sports to take up the challenge too and prove their potential.
There has been a lot of girl-child education, and I should not think that at this day and age, women, whether young women or old women, should think that it's a question of tokenism. they should ask to have their position as of right. There's no sport that is exclusive men. I know now football is, there's women, boxing, there's even boxing competitions for women. In our days, there wasn't. I think we better teach our girls to stand their ground. I would urge the girls, I am available. Should they think that they have been mistreated and they want issues taken up, I'm ready and willing to take up those issues on their behalf. And it's not a question of being given a position. When you deserve a position, you're entitled to it. And the girls should therefore not bend over to thinking that that is the only way they can get into national teams or trips to go and play out of the country.